Good evening, good evening. How is everybody? I hope you're all well. Who's ready for a Christmas story? Sort of, in a fashion. Get a minute for everybody to join us. Put my hair back. Who's going to be the first? Good evening, Anne. How are you? Hey, 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 Carol. I hope you're feeling better, Butte. Hey, Angela. Yeah, we're doing okay. Resting up. Hey, up, Mick. Hope everybody's nearly ready for Christmas. Hey, Bubbles. How are you? I hope you're well, my lovely. Evening, Mary. Merry Christmas, everybody, from our Carol. Hey, Joe. So, we're going to do Truth on Christmas or something similar. Evening, Carol. How are you, Buttes? Oh, I'm glad you're a lot better, Carol. There's nothing worse, Buttes, when we're off. So, what we're going to talk about. I've got loads, look, I've got loads of sheets to read with my reading as well. I get tongue-tied and short-tongued, and I'm dyslexic with quite a few letters, so bear with if I'm reading and it don't make sense. Oh, Carol, I hope you ain't got it too bad. I hope it's just the cough and the cold and it's not making you feel poorly in yourself, Buttes. There's so many people that's getting it or had it. Evening, Sophie. Fell hard onto my hips. I'm in bed resting. Oh, Sophie, sending you loads of healing, Buttes. I hope it's not done too much damage. Good evening, Miss Claire. Merry Christmas to everybody. So, let's get started, shall we? Let's get cracking. So there is some Christmas stories coming up within this, but this is sort of like, hey, Lisa, Gillian, this is sort of like going to the facts of Christmas and how it and where it all came from, really. So Ebenezer Scrooge wasn't the first fictional character to see ghosts around Christmas time. The tradition of holiday ghost stories goes much, much further back. Further perhaps than Christmas itself. Evening, Andrew. When the night grows long and the year is growing to a close, it's only natural that people feel an instinct to gather together. Hey, Antoinette. Gather together at the edge of the year. It also makes sense to think about people and places that are no longer with us. Thus, the Christmas ghost story. Its origins have little to do with the kind of commercial Christmases we've celebrated since the Victorian ages. They're about darker, older, more fundamental things: winter, death, rebirth, and the rapt connection between a teller and his or her audience. But they're packed in cosy trappings of the holidays. Evening, Lisa. Yo, yo. Christmas, as celebrated in Europe and the US, was originally connected to the pagan winter solstice, celebrations and festive known as Yule. The darkest day of the year was seen by many as a time when the dead would have particularly good access to the living. Religious studies professor Justin Daniels told Omina at a University of Pennsylvania blog, and Christmas as a holiday has a cocktail of elements that invite ghosts, writes Colin Fleming from the Paris Review. These are short days of the year, and a mixture of pagan habits and grand religiousity obtains. I think I read that one wrong. Between all that and the rum punch, well, a few tales are bound to come out. This was particularly true in the days before TV. By the time Dickens came along with his carol in 1863, the tradition of Christmas was fading. In fact, for most people, it was still a work day. Right. Antiquarian bookseller Tavistock Books. The Industrial Revolution meant fewer days off for everyone, and Christmas was considered so unimportant that nobody complained. The decline of the holiday came courtesy of Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell, the Lord and Protector of England in the 17th century and a Puritan, was on a mission to cleanse the nation of its most decadent excesses, writes Clemency Burton Hill for The Guardian. On the top of the list was Christmas and all its festive trappings. Prior to this, he writes, Christmas was celebrated in much the way that a modern Christmas, i.e., lots of food, drinks, decorations, and singing. Cromwell famously banned Christmas carols. Medieval people from Britain and elsewhere also had Christmas ghost stories, writes author and ghost story expert John Kennico James on his blog. But with a Christmas carol occurring around the same time as the invention of the commercial Christmas card and 19th century business looking to create a new commercial holiday, Christmas saw a resurgence in Britain, and and with it came the ghost stories the British Christmas is known for, telling tales like E.F. Benson's Algernon Blackwood and J.H. Rydell's laid the groundwork for the 20th century tales by the likes of A.M. Burbridge and M.R. James. The ghost story tradition has been made into some. But I missed them then. The ghost story tradition has been made into some ways into modern times, preserved in places like the lyrics of a Christmas classic, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, which talks about a scary ghost stories. Though to modernise, Halloween would be a more appropriate holiday for ghosts. Christmas makes sense, as Dickens wrote. The ghosts of Christmases are really the past, the present, and the future swirling around us in the dead of night that remind us that we're all haunted all the time by good ghosts and bad, and that they're all having something to tell us. Hey, Stuart, hey, Katie, hey, Judith. Sure, I've missed some out. Yeah. So, what are the dark origins of Christmas? So, we've got the pagan winter solace. From ancient times, the season that we now know as Christmas was a midwinter celebration called the winter solace, or Yule, a pagan festival. The winter solace was at a time to celebrate the fact that the worst of the year was over and the people could look forward to longer days with more sunlight in the near future. Ultimately, everyone was celebrating the fact that they were the ones to have survived another winter. Can understand that though, can't you? Really, and when you look at it, I mean, a winter is. I mean, especially going back in time. I mean, they didn't have central heating. They didn't have the clothes and the things that we have today to survive a winter. Hey, Joyce, Michelle. So yeah, for me, I can understand why Christmas back then would have been a celebration that they've actually survived. Yuletide and Odin's List. In Scandinavia, the North celebrated Yule or Yuletide from December the 21st right through until January, burning fires and feasting for a full 12 days, though nowadays we tend to celebrate all December. Yet the holiday took a more fearful turn in Germany, where many people believed that the pagan god Odin would observe his people from the sky during the winter solace, deciding who would survive the winter and who would not, almost as if he was making a list and checking it twice. So you can start seeing where the 19th century Christmas, where parts of it have been taken from. Saturnalia worship and Mithra, I think, or Mithra, is in warmer regions such as Rome. The people celebrated Saturnalia during December in honor of Satan, the god. In honor of Saturn. Oh, I thought you said Satan. It's a good job he's here sat next to me, isn't it? In honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, once again to celebrate the end of the worst of the winter. It was a time when social order was turned on its head, slaves and peasants ruled the city and celebrated with plentiful food and drink. The first instance of the winter solace as a charitable season.
You'll get everyone worshipping.
I know, I'll get everybody worshipping Satan at Christmas. Oh dear. Christianity versus pagan festivals. When Christianity was still a new religion, nobody even thought to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Only in the 14th century did Pope Julius choose to celebrate on the occasion on December 25th, conveniently timed to overshadow and absorb the traditions of Yule and Saturnalia. Yeah, a bloody battle between pagan holidays and Christian rule ensued, and by Middle Ages, Christmas had almost completely replaced the ancient pagan holidays. Hey, soldier! Santa Claus. When Santa Claus came, the legend of Saint Nicholas. The legend varies from culture to culture, but they all agree that he was a benevolent man, a protector of children, celebrated for his charitable nature. In Scandinavian culture, the same figure appears as a Sinterklaas. A Sinterklaas? I think I've pronounced that right. Who eventually made his way to America by the end of the 18th century as Santa Claus, a magical being who flew from house to house delivering presents to deserving children. But what happened to the not so deserving? Krampus. Every protagonist has an antagonist, and just as the Christian God found his counterpart in the devil, Santa wasn't the only creature visiting houses during the winter solace. In Belgium and the Netherlands and Austro-Bavaria cultures, misbehaving children could expect a visit from the terrifying Krampus, a half goat, half demon, and at the best would leave a lump of coal, and at the worst would kidnap the child, never to be seen again. In the if any naughty children thought they would get away with a couple of weeks of good behaviour before Christmas, they're in for a shock. Krampus wouldn't wait until Christmas Day to punish the unworthy. Krampus Snout continues to be celebrated across many European regions on the 5th of December, combing both Christian traditions with pagan roots. Krampus now sees parades offering of Krampuslof snaps and the exchanging of Krampuskarten Christmas cards, decepting from the terrifying Krampus. Christmas riots. Americans didn't truly embrace Christmas until the 19th century, and it didn't have the smoothest start. Christmas had become a time for the poor and unemployed to riot in huge gangs. In a tradition inspired by earlier celebrations of Halloween, Americans demanded fine food and drink for the upper class and caused trouble if their demands weren't met. Deciding that the violence must end, communities were urged to gather together, rich to poor, to celebrate the closing of the year in the same way Christmas was celebrated elsewhere. I have a promising singing career, yeah. Cleaning up Christmas. Back in England, the Christmas tradition was also changing. Previously, a time of hedonism and a huge festive celebration, the holidays were turning into a more peaceful and family-oriented time. In 1843, Charles Dickens wrote A Tale of a Christmas Carol, which spread a message of charity and kindness which resonated with both English and American societies. As Christmas became even more popular in America, it was reinvented as the perfect family holiday. Old customs lifted straight from the pagan days, such as decorating trees, sending cards to family and friends, and exchanging gifts became an essential part of the Christmas tradition. Eventually, the commercialized reinvention became an accepted celebration of Christmas all over the world.
But there's some parts of the old tradition that still are here. Like everyone says, eat, drink, and be merry.
Yeah.
Well, that was what they used to
That's
do.
what they used. Well, is it pagans that used to say that, and the eat, drink, and be merry? So, yeah. So obviously we've got some old traditions coming in with the new, and I think you'll see that as we're reading through, won't there? There's more of it to be picked up on.
Yeah.
So during the winter solstice season, people around the world would practice all kinds of Christmas traditions, from eating candy canes. They're vile. Don't ever buy them candy canes because they're disgusting. Candy canes to giving presents. But did you know that many Christmas customs can trace their roots back to pagan origins? Here are 9 little known bits of trivia about Yule season traditions. Soldier says, "Hey John." Say hey to everybody. Just shout hey everybody. Otherwise we'll get inundated with all the hays. Christmas caroling. The tradition of Christmas caroling actually began as a tradition of, is that wassailing? Wassailing. In centuries past, wassailing went from door to door, singing and drinking to the health of their neighbours. The concept actually harkens back to pre-Christian fertility rites. Only these ceremonies, villagers travelled through their fields and orchards in the middle of winter, singing and shouting to drive any spirits that might inhabit the growth of the future crops. Caroling wasn't actually done in churches until St. Francis, around the 13th century, thought it might be a nice idea. Kissing under the mistletoe. Who kisses under the mistletoe? We do. When we've got both under the door together, which is hardly ever, but anyway, kissing under the mistletoe. Mistletoe has been around for a long time and has been considered a magical plant by everyone, from the Druids to the Vikings. The ancient Romans honoured the god Saturn, and to keep him happy, they conducted fertility rituals under the mistletoe.
We don't quite go that far.
No, we don't. But this could explain where the kissing tradition comes from. The Norse Eddas tell of warriors from opposing tribes meeting under mistletoe and laying down their arms, so it's certainly considered a plant of peace and reconciliation. Also in Norse mythology, mistletoe is associated with Frigga, a goddess of love. Gift delivering and mythical beings. Sure, we've all heard of Santa Claus, who has his roots in the ditch. Sure, we all have heard of Santa Claus, who has his roots in the Dutch Sinterklaas mythology, with a few elements of Odin and Saint Nicholas thrown in for good measure. But how many people have heard of La Befana, the kindly Italian witch who drops off treats for her well-behaved children, or Fra Holly, who gave gifts to women at the time of the winter solace? Throughout the world, gift-giving mythical beings are part of local traditions. Decking the halls. Who decks the halls? Hey, Karen, deck the halls with boughs and la 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 la. I didn't know that. Boughs of holly, isn't it? Boughs of holly. I thought it was something like that. I just didn't want to sing it. Decking the halls. The Romans loved a good party, and Saturnalia was no exception. This holiday, which fell on December the 17th, was a time to honour the god Saturn, and so homes and hearths were decorated with boughs of greenery, vines, ivy, and the likes. The ancient Egyptians didn't have evergreen trees, but they had palm, and the palm trees were the symbol of resurrection and rebirth. People often brought the fronds into their home during the time of winter solace. Over time, this evolved into the modern tradition of the Christmas tree. Hey, hey, and been trying to get in touch with you. People think we are crazy gifting the spirits. Nothing new. Exactly, Andy. Hanging ornaments. During Saturnalia, Romans celebrants often hung metal ornaments outside on trees. Typically, the ornaments represented a god, either Saturn or the family patron deity. The laurel wreath was a popular, I know my short tongue got in the way, a popular decoration as well. Early Germanic tribes decorated trees with fruits and candles in honour of Odin for the solstice. So I wonder whether the decorative trees with fruit and candles, I wonder whether that's where they got the Christingle from then, because the Christingle's an orange with candles in, or it used to be. Eating fruit cake. The fruit cake has become the stuff of legend because once the fruit cake is baked, it will seemingly outlive everyone who comes near it. Stories abound of fruitcakes from winter, past magically appearing in the pantry to surprise everyone during the holiday season. What's interesting about the fruitcake is that it actually has its origins in ancient Egypt. There is a tale in the culinary world that the Egyptians placed cake made of fermented fruit and honey on the tombs of their deceased loved ones, and presumably these cakes would last as long as the pyramids themselves. In later centuries, Roman soldiers carried these cakes made with mashed pomegranates and barley into battle. There are even records of soldiers on crusades carrying honey laden fruit cakes into the Holy Land with them. Giving presents. Today, Christmas is a huge gift, not many, giving bonanza for retailers far and wide. However, that's a fairly new practice, developed within the last 200 or 300 years. Most people who celebrate Christmas associate the practice of gift giving with the biblical tale of the three wise men who gave gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to newborn baby Jesus. However, the tradition can also be traced back to other cultures. The Romans gave gifts between Saturnella and the Calends, and during the Middle Ages, French nuns gave gifts of food and clothing to the poor on St. Nicholas's Eve. Interestingly, up until around the early 1800s, most people exchanged gifts on New Year's Day, and it was unusual just one present, and it was usually just one present, rather than a massive collection of typical gifts given today. Christmas holly. For those who celebrate the spiritual aspect of Christmas, there is a signifying symbolism in the holly bush. For Christians, the red berries represent the blood of Jesus Christ as he died upon the cross, and the sharp-edged green leaves are associated with the crown of the thorn. However, in pre-Christian pagan cultures, the holly was associated with the god of winter, the Holly King, during his annual battle with the Oak King. Holly was known as a wood that could drive off evil spirits as well, and it came in handy during the dark half of the year when most of the other trees were bare. The Yule Log. Nowadays, when we hear about the Yule Log, most people think of a deliciously rich chocolate dessert. But the Yule Log has its origins in a cold winters of Norway on the night of the winter solstice, where it is common to hoist a giant log onto the hearth and celebrate the return of the sun each year. The Norwegians believed that the sun was a giant wheel of fire that rolled away from the earth and began rolling back again on the winter's solace. So, everybody on a level of understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth. So now I've got some Christmas ghost tales, or tales of Christmas ghosts. The first one is the haunted Christmas feast of Alcatraz. The island of Alcatraz, off the coast of San Francisco, has a long and spooky history. In earlier days, Native Americans allegedly used to banish miscreants to the island as punishment, where they were reportedly plagued by the local spirits. Alcatraz, of course, became a notorious federal prison in 1934, housing criminals such as Al Capone before it shut down in 1963. Today's visitors to the island report hearing screams, the clanging of metal doors, and the sound of voices within the walls. One of the most famous tales associated with the island supposedly occurred in the 1940s, when Warden James Johnson held a Christmas Day party at his residence for the staff of the prison. The good cheer is said to have been brought to a swift halt when an apparition sporting mutton chop whiskers and a grey suit appeared. The temperature in the room plummeted and the fire blew out before returning to normal when the spirits disappeared about a minute later. The rattled guards were too scared to stay in the residence, and the rest of the Christmas celebration ended abruptly. I don't know if I read earlier that because it was if we're going back to where the pagans beliefs come in, On Halloween, they say that the veil's low for one night. Well, for Yule, it was open then as well. There's because it was like coming to the ending of the year, weren't it, and celebrating. The veil is very thin around Christmas time, so which is really interesting. Because to me, it's not just Halloween where the veil, because again, it's another holiday, isn't it? So the story number 2. The ghostly queen returns home at Hever Castle. Anne Boleyn is notorious as the second of King Henry the Wives ill-fated. Anne Boleyn is notorious as the second of King Henry VIII's ill-fated wives. To marry Anne, Henry spent years seeking a divorce from his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, and went over to sever England's relationship with the Catholic Church in Rome, forever changing the course of British history. Despite the legends he went to ensnare her, Henry soon grew tired of Anne, and choosing to believe the idle gossip surrounding her, he had her beheaded in 1536. A number of reports exist of a ghost of Anne Boleyn, but perhaps the most affecting is the version said to haunt her childhood home, Hever Castle in Kent. Some say that every Christmas Eve, the spectral figure of Anne Boleyn can be seen slowly gliding across the bridge over the River Eden towards their family home, where she was at her happiest. Samhain is a pagan's new year. Yule is the death of the land, and Beltane is the rebirth. Thank you, Andy. I knew there was something, but again, because we've got the Samhain, we've got the new year, so that's when the veil's supposed to be thinner, and then we've got the death of the land and the rebirth. So again, I think that's what it's meaning why the veil's thinner. The Headless Horseman at Roos Hall. Roos Hall in Suffolk lays claim to being one of the most haunted houses in England. The 16th century hall has a number of sinister connections, including a gruesome hanging tree, an oak tree planted at the site of the old gibbet where numerous criminals were hung. To make things even spookier, inside one of the building cupboards, the mark of the devil's cloven hoof is said to be imprinted. But perhaps the most dramatic haunting is supposed to happen every Christmas Eve. Legend has it that a headless horseman clatters down the driveway with his 4 black horses, pulling a phantom coach, terrifying anyone who witnesses it. Wonder whether we can get on that.
What's that one?
That's Roos Hall in Suffolk. It might be interesting to Christmas Eve one year to go down and see if we can actually get on driveway if we can't get onto grounds themselves.
It says it's in Beccles here.
Well, it says in Suffolk, so yeah, it might be. Number 4, River Edenwood Flood Road. The haunted dining room at the Crescent Hotel. The Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, was built in 1886 and is rumored to harbor numerous ghosts who seem to be especially playful during the holidays. One Christmas, the staff came down to set up the dining room only to find the Christmas tree had been moved from one side of the room to the other. Another year, all the menus in the dining room had been scattered around the room. Other visitors have reported seeing groups of ghostly dancers clad in Victorian-era clothing whirling around the deserted dance floor. According to Scottish superstition of first footing, the first person to enter a household in the new year will dictate its fortunes for that year. A lucky first footer is a dark-haired male who arrives bearing a coin, a lump of coal, a piece of bread, and a drink, which would be whiskey in an ideal world. Hey, Barbara, I hope you're all right, my lovely. And our equinox, October 31st. But if you want to get technical with planetary shifts, the last year's Samhain was on November the 6th. So does it change dates then every year, Andy? So does Samhain change date? It's not the same date then every year. It's a different date. And is that the same for bar from the Christmas one, or does the Christmas one change dates? I can't remember. The ghostly gatherings of kings at Warwild. Castle. And it is, well, I can't say it. Wow, well. Hey, evening, Charles. Yeah, depending on the alignment. Wow, I didn't know that. Evening, Rach. Wow. Poland's Warwild Royal Castle was built on Warwild Hill in the 1500s. Within the hill lies a deep cave known as Samogsa Jama, Dragon's Den. Legends had it that a great dragon once lived there, terrorizing the locals before Prince Crack bravely vanquished. Prince Crack, Krak, bravely vanquished the dragon and brought peace to Poland. To memorize this event, a statue of the dead dragon now stands in the cave. Go deeper into the cave and you come to yet another chamber. And it is here that on December 24th every year, all the long gone kings of Poland are said to meet and hold a special council. It is! It's Prince Crack. It's Krak, and that Samoksa Jama, Smokza, and then Jmaa, and that's Dragon's Den for that one. The Mistletoe Bride of Bramshall House. Hey, Tanya. In the early 17th century, a young woman named Anne was to be married on Christmas Day at Bramshall House in Hampshire, England. After the ceremony feast, as was tradition at the time, the guests were all set to carry the bride to the bedchamber. Anne suggested a game be played and asked for 5 minutes head start before the guests came to find her. Everyone searched long and hard for Anne, but no sign of her could be found. At first they thought she had played a merry trick, but soon a sense of unease fell over the guests. The bridegroom, Lord Lovell, was distraught, and guests began to whisper that she must have fled. Days, weeks, months, and years passed. The Lord Lovell never stopped looking for his bride. One day, some 50 years after her disappearance, Lord Lovell was up in the huge attic of the sprawling mansion, where he began tapping on the oak panelling. As he knocked, a long hidden secret door sprung open, and inside he found an ornate wooden chest. He pried open the heavy wooden lid, and there, still in her wedding dress and clutching her mistletoe bouquet, was the skeletal remains of his beloved. The scratch marks on the inside of the lid of the chest attested to a desperate but futile effort to free herself from the hiding space. While the story appears in many variations, Bramshall House is thought to be the most likely site. Wow, how sad's that got to be, though? You know, fancy getting married. I mean, but then again, I'm not being funny. Who'd go and lock themselves in a locked box? That's just.
It weren't locked.
Well, it's got to have locked because she couldn't get out from it. So no, I'm not saying she locked it, but it's sure. I'm sure I've heard a film or something of that kind, something like that. We'll have to have a look. That's got to be awful to be locked somewhere. I mean, that's got to be one of my worst fears for claustrophobic, to be in a box with the lid shut and not getting out. I mean, oh my God, I grew up. The apparition of a murdered highwayman in Kent. On Christmas Eve, near the close of the 18th century, a notorious highwayman named Gilbert is said to have stopped a stagecoach and horses on the Hawkhurst Road in Morden, Kent. The coach contained a young lady and her father, and Gilbert ordered them out onto the road. Just as the girl stepped out, the horse bolted, taking the coach and her father with them. The young lady was left alone on the dark road with the highwayman. As she looked into his face, she recognized him as the very same highwayman who had murdered her brother some years earlier. Horrified, she drew a hidden knife from her bag and stabbed Gilbert in the side. Fleeing into the bushes, When the horses were calmed and the coach returned a little while later, the men discovered the bloodied body of the highwayman and buried him at the side of the road. When villagers found the woman in the forest the next day, she had gone completely mad. They avoided that spot on the road for many years, and it's said that every Christmas Eve, the bloody scene is silently replayed to all that pass through. So, do you know, I love these Christmassy stuff, and I think it's really good. Look at that, my head's shining. It's that heat lamp on my head. I can turn it down a little bit now. I think I'll put it that way a bit. But it's I just love it, and I love. For me, I think sometimes we need to go back to the how Christmas was to start with. Because I really do think, hey Rich, I really do think that Christmas now isn't focused on what it should be focused on. People forget family. And family and friends are going to be here forever, and presents aren't. Do you know what I mean? And for me, it's got to be everybody needs to take a step back, because, and I'm not saying don't buy Christmas presents, but don't go stupid at Christmas time. John's always said it. Why does Christmas time have to be special? What is so special? Yeah, it's a celebration. But really, is it a celebration that we've got through another year? You know, that should be the celebration that who's made it through. We celebrate the life and the loss. And I don't know. For me, I think the older traditions are not the older traditions, the pagan traditions are seemingly more, what can I say, more, for me, I'm more interested in going back that way. The commercialization of Christmas it's awful, and I feel sorry for parents that are out there, especially these days, when you've got an 8-year-old saying they want an iPhone, or you've got I don't know, a 6-year-old asking for a PS5 because all his classmates have got a PS5, you know, and it's just gone from. And I also, you know, it's not turning into a rant, I promise. But I also think that as parents, we don't spend enough time outdoors with his children, because it's so easy to say, get upstairs and on your PlayStation, because we can't be bothered to go for a walk around woods or go for a walk around park because our lives are too busy. And I think if I have one regret, I did all that with Michael, but I didn't do it with my girls. I didn't. I was too young, but I didn't like said to them, "Come on, we're going into woods. We're going to splash in rivers, or we're just going to have a walk round picking sticks up, or doing whatever." When Michael come along, it was different because I was older. So with Michael, I did spend a lot of times outdoors and camping and stuff like that. But my regret is I didn't get to do that as much with the girls because they were older than Mike's. And other week, Jordan said to me, "Come on, we'll go for a walk." So me, John, Joe, Mike's gets kids ready, not Mike's. Me, John, Joe, and Fifi and boys went for a walk, and we only went round corner, and we've got a beautiful little woodland area, and we went in there, and you know how much fun it was just being there with the kids, picking up these dirty sticks and just playing as kids would, because Jordan don't want us growing up to be indoor kids. She wants them outdoors. I love sending presents rather than receiving them, but what I enjoy more is the spending time with family, having fun and making memories to treasure. Oh, 100%. 100%. So true. After all is said and done, it's supposed to be the celebration. See, I don't, for you, I don't know. I mean, you might believe in Jesus's birth, Gillian. For me personally, I don't. I believe there's a God, but I don't think Jesus. I think Jesus was just another cult, I think. And I know, and I don't want to offend anybody, but in my belief, Jesus, the man Jesus, would have been For me, he was a cult leader, and that's just my way of thinking. But I believe there's a God. But as far as Jesus, no, I'm sorry, it's not my cup of tea. Any tips on engaging a stroppy teenager? I missed that time you're describing. Do you know what, Rachel? There is none for a stroppy teenager, unfortunately. Only thing really you could do with a stroppy teenager, but then again, there's money involved in it. But then, is it worth it because it's going to be outside? So there's that like that go outdoors. Not go out, go ape. I think it is where they're swinging from trees and you can all get in, you can all do that. That's actually a great Christmas present to give somebody, actually, especially if you're mobile and you've got the thing for heights. You know, it's finding, Sean, it's finding whatever they could get them into doing. You know, and again, you've got likes of fishing, cricket, even take up golf if golf's the thing. You know, anything just to get them back outside. It's just finding that thing that just gets their mind going. If anyone would like an explanation of Jesus, watch. Hang on, let me put that up under. If anybody would like an explanation of Jesus, watch. Zelgist, the movie, explains it all the way well with facts. Thank you, Andy, my lovely. Again, Andy's a pagan, so Andy and Becky's beliefs are on a pagan belief, but paganism was around long before Christianity came around, and that is a true fact. There's no if, buts, or maybes. Paganism was here before Christianity and all the others. So yeah, so there is truth there. Mum and I were putting the decks up in front of the room today and started talking about family. All gone sadly, but that's the active room where in the past I have caught an orb on camera. See, as family members and that, I still believe are still with us. You know, when it comes to Christmas, I think for me around Christmas time, I tend to feel more. I have more memories come through. So like we can be sat here and I'll look at tree, and it takes me back to the tree when we were younger. And it's like I sit back and my memories start flooding. So to me, the memories are being put into my head to be thinking of, you know, whether it's me thinking it, whether I think that it's the spirit guides or family members, it's whatever I feel comfort in. So I do believe that the veil does go thin, and I do believe that his loved ones do step in. But I believe the veil is thin at all times through the year. It might get a little bit more thinner at certain times, but I believe the veil is quite a thin veil. Oh gee, baby, what's that mean? Lindsay, it's what we was taught in schoolhood. Yeah, Gillian, this is the thing. In school, we did RE, which is religious education. They never talked about paganism in school for us. We learn on Christianity. We learn on all different other religions, the Catholic, the Protestant, all the other religions. We sort of original taught. I never knew that meant original. Yeah. So for me, paganism weren't even something that I would have even looked at school, because we were taught the Christian way. We were christened. We went to Sunday school, which was a Christian Sunday school. So for me, that was my mum and dad's choice to go that way, but that was through family pressure also, because it back in 1870s, I suppose that it was just, I don't know, but yeah. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world, but Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world, but paganism is the oldest religion in the UK. Thank you, Claire. I guess I should look more into the meaning of Christmas and the truth. Maybe, Gillian. I mean, even if you don't want to believe what you're reading, just to actually open your mind to something different. you're not taking anything away from yourself, but you're just like opening your mind up to there's more out there. Do you know? I believe also that everyone's veils that thing are all different, mean at different times. If a saying 6, Paul's birthday was in June, then it could be thin around his birthday to contact Paul. Possibly. Possibly. Catch you later, Antoinette. Anniversary. Yeah, yeah. But it's all, you've just got to be open-minded to actually look into different things, whether you want to believe it or not. Just the actual opening up and looking into different things, looking how things used to be years and years ago, before religion, before when things were what they were. Do you know? It's very humbling when you start looking back and seeing stuff that we're given. I mean, we always say, and nobody can say they won't say it, as parents, you always say your kids are going to have better than what you had, when really it's not better than what you had. In some cases it's not better, okay, in some it is, but in a lot of cases it's not that they've got better, it's just technology's got better for shit. Do you know? So, but I feel that technology has taken everybody away from being outdoors, and I just think in this day and age, the kids now need to be going back outdoors again, because otherwise, the next generation that's going to come are all just going to be in. It's just going to be an indoor life for them, isn't it? It's just not going to be good. Anyway, on that note, I'm going over to our members area shortly, because I've got 1, 2, 3.
You have more than 3.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to end with a very special one. So trillion% agree. It is Rachel, isn't it? I mean, we've got some beautiful woodland. Even if it's trying to get kids into photography, I mean, we've all got phones, we've all got cameras. Jordan started showing me where I'm supposed to take photos and stuff like that. There is no right and wrong answer where religion is concerned, in my opinion. Religion is based on faith and acceptance of everyone's beliefs. 100% Claire. Eventually end up plugged into the mainframe permanently via system. They will. Bit Matrix all over. But it is. I think it really is. Thank you, Barbara, my lovely. Stop calling me Shirley. Shirley. What do you mean, Shirley? Take care, everyone, and good night. Yes, so members, I'll see you over on our members area in 5 minutes with some more Ghosts of Christmas Tales. So, yeah, I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to grab a drink of water, no alcohol, and I shall see you over at members very shortly. Please subscribe to members. To do so, just go to the main page and hit that subscribe button. It's only £2.79 a month, I think it is, and it's well worth it. Have you just rejoined, Rachel? Marvelous. Look forward to seeing you over there in 5 minutes. Mwah. See you soon, guys. Bye.